This is the BlackBerry KEYone, and I got this phone probably about a couple of days ago now, and I've been using it for 2 days, and this is my honest feedback of it. Now, why did I get the BlackBerry? Who gets a BlackBerry in 2025? I don't know anyone who gets a BlackBerry in 2025, at least not my friends in real life. But for me, this was a decision really just to give it a shot, because I've always, back in the heyday, I've always been a big fan of BlackBerry. I've had quite a few BlackBerries, all the way from the old brick BlackBerries to the more modern ones. I think the last one I had was probably the Z10, I think that's what it was called. And then I went over to iPhone straight after that. So I've always been a fan of BlackBerry. And the reason why I decided let me give BlackBerry another go is because of how busy my lifestyle is. And I felt that I was constantly on my iPhone. Now, I love my iPhone. I've got an iPhone 15 Pro, and that's what I'm filming this video with. It's an absolutely fantastic phone, but it has everything on there, which makes it very, very difficult to put down. And because I also run a business, I always felt like I was on the phone responding to emails or doing things. I had an idea, let me have a look at this, let me Google this, let me check this, let me check that. And then obviously I was also using instant messaging apps, a lot of social media, including YouTube. And I just felt like I was on my device all the time. Even outside of my regular working hours, I was pretty much on my device all the time, because for anyone who sort of runs a business, you don't really stop thinking about it. Obviously there's times during the day where you don't think about it a lot, but it's always there somewhere. It's very difficult to not think about what you need to do or what hasn't been finished. So I eventually, as a Reddit user, I stumbled across the BlackBerry subreddit, stumbled across the dumb phone subreddit, and again, on my iPhone. I wouldn't have discovered these communities without my iPhone. And I was just amazed to see that there's still a thriving community of BlackBerry users, which is absolutely amazing. So many years on, still a thriving community of BlackBerry users who still use these devices and who still use them as their daily drivers, and are actually modifying the actual devices themselves, but also making workarounds for modern apps to work on these devices. So that sort of raised my interest, like, maybe I could probably use a BlackBerry. Also, the dumb phone subreddit, anyone who's been on there, it's a very good subreddit. It's a very big community, a very active community, and a lot of phones on there. I don't think I've seen any BlackBerries, I might be wrong, but there's so many phones, and the fact that it's such a big community, and I think it's growing quite a bit. I think it's because people are just generally fed up with having their attention stolen by smartphones and tech, but in particular smartphones, because we carry these things around with us all the time. They're never too far away from us. And there's just a growing discontentment with smartphones and with the apps that are on them. And it was just very interesting to see, what phones people were getting rid of and buying. People had, like me, quite an advanced iPhone or a Samsung phone or a Google phone, and all these different types of phones, and then trading them in for, Nokias and all sorts of things. So it was quite interesting to see how much people are switching to these phones, how many people are switching to these phones, but also enjoying the switch to the dumber phones, which, I knew there was quite an interest about dumb phones, also they're called, but I didn't realize they were so popular. Even to the point that, they've released phones such as the Big Me Hybrid Pro, which is like an e-ink phone, and e-ink phones have been around, but these units are popular, they are selling. It's not just a fad. I don't think, at least, it's a fad. So anyway, why I got the BlackBerry. So as a previous BlackBerry user, I thought, okay, this is a phone that I'm familiar with. This is a phone which, not this phone in particular, but the brand I'm familiar with. And it's a brand which has always been known for most of its history of good quality devices, and also obviously the keyboard. I missed the keyboard. So yeah, I thought, okay, after some very helpful people helped me on Reddit to find a phone that I could use in the UK, I came across the KEYone, the BlackBerry KEYone on eBay. Now I got this on eBay very quickly actually. I just did a search of Blackberries in general, and I saw people are still selling Blackberries for some very expensive amounts. So I settled on the BlackBerry KEYone because number one, I knew it would work with EE, who's my network provider. And also secondly, because it's cheaper than the Key 2. This was about £60, which I think is about $70 or $80. The Key 2 was about 200 and something pounds, which I couldn't believe. And I don't even know if it's that much better to justify the price, but there must be a reason why it cost that much. Maybe it was the last device that BlackBerry made, I don't know. But there was no way I was spending 200 odd pounds on something which was this old, no way. So I got this secondhand off eBay. And another reason why I got this is because it runs the Android operating system. Now, I generally don't like Android, that's just a personal thing. But with Android, I knew at least, and from what I've read on the BlackBerry subreddit, is that you can at least install things like WhatsApp and a few other apps here and there without there being too many glitches or too many workarounds. So I knew from that I didn't want. Initially, I thought I wanted OS 10, but I thought, okay, let me get Android. I think it's Android 8 on here. So I knew at least certain apps would at least still be compatible. As much as I love the older devices, such as the BlackBerry Bold, I think it's the 9900, I really wanted that one. That's a really beautiful phone. I thought, you know what, let me just get the KEYone. At least I know I can get at least WhatsApp on there quite easily. I can get maybe some basic email on there quite easily. So anyway, I got this around £60 I paid. Got it in a few days, and so far it's been pretty good, but there are some drawbacks to having a phone like this. So I've made a list in my notebook of the things I like and the things I don't like about this phone. So number one is the design. I absolutely love the design, and hopefully the camera can zoom in on this or whatever. The design is beautiful. It's just very thin. Number one, it's very thin. It's just very sleek and elegant looking. It hasn't got as many cameras like my iPhone, which I don't personally like. It's a very simple camera at the back and on the front as well. I like the back plate. It's like a textured back plate. And yeah, it's just a really thin, light phone. The display is also pretty crisp as well. And number one, well, the most important thing is it's got a keyboard, which is amazing. I love the BlackBerry keyboard. It's just, who wouldn't like a keyboard? But I would say that as much as I liked the keyboard, I don't think I like it as much as I used to, because I've used touchscreen phones for some time now. So going back to a keyboard, my fingers felt really squished, and it was a very different experience, very surreal experience to be typing using a keyboard again. But I think I'm getting used to it 2 days in. I think I'm getting used to it. I think that, to be fair, this keyboard is old, so it's not as clicky and maybe as responsive, but it's still good. And it is a nice keyboard. I think I just have to get used to it, to be honest. Like, you have the fingerprint reader at the bottom there, which is pretty cool as well. So yeah, like, it's a very nice design, very, very elegant and sleek design. They don't make phones like this anymore, as far as I know. But yeah, I think for most people, the selling point would be the keyboard. So yeah, the other point is I don't have to keep it in a case. It's only £60. So I don't really care about keeping it in a case. It came with a case and I chucked it out straight away. If it falls, if it gets scratched, I really could care less. My iPhone, different story. It's a really expensive phone and I don't fancy going to the Apple store and all of that, even though I've got the Apple Care and Apple Care Plus Plus or whatever it's called these days. So yeah, you know, I don't really mind if this phone falls. Screen time, that has to be a huge positive for me. Like I don't feel, because the apps are so slow on here and you can't install many apps, you don't want to use the phone more than you have to, in a weird way. It's a phone I like to use, but it's a phone that I don't like to use. So it's great to feel it. It's great to use it for a phone call and you know, maybe send a message on WhatsApp. But other than that, I haven't installed any apps on here. I think I tried to download one app and it wouldn't work. The version of Android is so working. When you use these apps, it's not very quick either. So as a result, I don't feel tempted to use it. Like my screen time, it must have dropped massively. Like I've left my iPhone at home because this works on EE. I've taken it out and about. And my screen time must have dropped because I've got nothing to do on here. Unless someone sends me a message or calls me, I literally have nothing to do on this phone. So my screen time has plummeted. I don't think I feel less stressed or anything like that, but it's definitely plummeted. And that ties into my next point, less distractions. You know, I don't have emails coming in all the time or some random app notifying me and I thought I turned my notifications off or something. You know, there's just fewer distractions. You know, if I'm standing outside in a queue, I don't feel like, oh, let me check Reddit or let me go on Instagram or anything like that. It hasn't got it on here. Or maybe you can, but I don't want to use it on here. And the display is not that good and it's not going to be that, you know, that easy to use and pleasant to use, so to say. So definitely fewer distractions. And I'll give you one example. I was driving to a place of work yesterday. I didn't have sat nav on here. I knew roughly where I was going. I had the sat nav on here, but I only used it when I really had to use it and I got lost. But up until that point, I was just driving and I was relying on my own memory of the route to get to the destination. I wasn't fussed about finding the fastest route or the most pleasant route. I just went the route that I knew. And when I had to get to where I needed to get to, I loaded up Google Maps on here, which actually works. I loaded up Google Maps and I got to my destination. So it was very strange just driving in the car and not constantly looking at my sat nav trying to find the shortest route. There's a beauty in that. We don't have to get everywhere so quickly. Right, I've said here apps are laggy, so yes, leads to less distractions. That's pretty obvious. Yes, security. Security is one which I I've been thinking of it for a while, that if, you know, I had banking apps and stuff on my phone, but, you know, I have a lot of work things on my phone, and if it got stolen on my iPhone, that I would be stuffed, essentially. I would struggle to get access back into certain accounts, my passwords and all of that, you know, my Face ID, I don't have any of that. So walking around with this, I feel that if someone steals it, you know, take the device. I could care less. You might be able to get into it, but there's not going to be anything on here of value. There's no banking apps, there's no emails, nothing, no, you know, 10 million apps where people can possibly get my financial details and my personal details. You might be able to get some details on here, but you steal this, you're not going to get much at all because you can barely use it, you know, in terms of apps. So that's also quite a huge relief for me. I don't think it's a huge relief for everyone, but if you live in a big city, bustling city like I do, Yeah, I really don't care if I take this out and someone steals it. I'd say, okay, fine, is what it is. And then I think last but not least is the simplicity of the device. It's just a simple phone. It is a simple phone. And there is beauty in simplicity. I think sometimes we try to pack our tech with too many things. Now, what I don't like about this phone, it's difficult to use in modern society. It is difficult. And I don't know if it's because I'm used to the iPhone. I think it probably is, to be fair, but it is just when you use something for so long, you get so used to convenience. Like, as I was saying, I can navigate anywhere with my iPhone. If I want to check my emails, I can check my emails, I can check my banking, I can check all these different things with the iPhone. With this, if I'm out and about and I need to check something, or I think I need to check something, I'm not going to be able to check it, and I have to wait until I get home or get to a computer in order to check it. So it's not very practical for modern day use if you are very tech heavy and if you've sort of had your life online and on devices. To go almost cold turkey is very challenging. Maybe I'll get over it, who knows. Another example is because of the lack of apps, just simple things. I use a drone sometimes. I can't use my drone with this because my drone connects with my phone and my controller, so it's I can't really use my drone with it. So if I need to use my drone, I have to take my iPhone with me and perhaps tether off this. It just gets really complicated. So if you have a phone like this, you have to be prepared for workarounds. You can't, if you're not doing much, and if you really have nerves of steel, then you could probably just survive using the phone and whatnot. But for me, I'm very connected to things, to various apps and whatnot, and because of my business, it is quite difficult. In fact, I missed a couple of work calls because of the setup I have on my iPhone and iPad. So it's not so easy. It's not so easy at all. And then it's very basic. We all know that. But for me, I'm out of the Apple ecosystem. Ultimately, I'm out of the Apple ecosystem. And that's hard. That's very hard when you're so used to things working almost flawlessly and with each other. It's very hard just to drop everything, almost to break a link in that ecosystem and introduce a phone like this, especially on Android. And I'm not someone who likes too many workarounds to get something to work. So that is a big, big drawback for me. Now, I guess the question is, will I keep this phone? I don't know, to be honest. It really depends on how much I'm able to adjust and how much aggro it causes me using this phone. I do really like it. I do really, really like it. But I am just concerned that it is a bit too basic. Now, I know there's other phones out there, such as the ones I mentioned, the Big Me, High Break, and all of that. And that's a really nice phone. Excuse the noise in the background. But if I'm going to get a smartphone, I might as well go the whole way and get an iPhone. And if I really wanted to, perhaps, turn it to monochrome. But I might eat my words if I get a Big Me. So yeah, I don't know if I'll keep it. I'm still undecided. I'm still in the middle about it. I would definitely use this as a transition device, if anything. I'd install a lot of apps on my iPhone and try and mimic what I have on here. But I don't know if I'm ready to completely ditch my iPhone and go back to 2017 or whenever this was made. I love this phone. I love it. Do I wish it had more apps and things like that? No, because it would ruin the essence of this phone. But yeah, I don't know if I'll keep it. I don't know. So if I don't keep it, I'll let you all know and I'll stick it on eBay and sell it on. But yeah, I'll definitely make some adjustments to my life now that I feel like I've got a bit more headspace. So yeah, that's it. If that video has been helpful, let me know. Let me know if you've also got one of these devices, or if you're thinking about getting one of these, or even just a dumb phone, or if you want me to run through this phone in a bit more detail, there's really not much to go through, to be honest with you. But look, let me know if there's anything specific that you want to know about. And it would also be helpful if you could like and subscribe to the channel. This is a new channel, just talking about business, talking about dumb phones. I hate calling this a dumb phone, by the way. It's not really a dumb phone. Blackberries were very good in their heyday. And yeah, just talking about simplicity and all other things in life. So let me know, like and subscribe. That'd be really helpful to see that people are interested. And yeah, until next time, yeah, I'm out. There you go.